Evolution of Gamera. The giant turtle Gamera makes his debut in the 1965 black and white movie, Gamera, the Giant Monster, which depicts his origins as the result of United States military fighters launching an attack on enemy bombers, which causes the detonation of an atomic bomb on board one of the aircraft. The nuclear blast releases Gamera from a state of suspended animation in the ice, and he wastes no time in causing a rampage of destruction, making his way to Japan to wreak havoc. In an attempt to stop the monster, Gamera is sedated and massive amounts of dynamite are placed beneath him. The explosion knocks the monster to his back, but Gamera uses his ability to fly to save himself. However, near the end of the movie, Gamera is tricked into the nose cone of a massive rocket and sent to Mars. Unlike the other giant monster films, Gamera is not really destructive but merely misunderstood and out of place in the world because he is shown saving a small boy named Kenny from death after knocking down a lighthouse. In the 1966 movie Gamera vs. Barugon, after the rocket taking him to Mars was hit by a meteor, producing an explosion that destroyed the rocket and liberated him, Gamera returned to Earth to face his first opponent, the monster Barugon. Gamera's one key weakness, which was only demonstrated in the first two movies, is low temperature. The monster Barugon was able to defeat Gamera with his freezing spray, but when Gamera thaws, he drowns Barugon in Lake Biwa. This immediately established Gamera as a noble figure who defends children and the Earth from other monsters. In the 1967 movie Gamera vs. Gyaos, Gamera and the authorities must deal with the sudden appearance of a carnivorous winged creature awakened by volcanic eruptions, Gyaos. In the 1968 movie Gamera vs. Viras, Gamera the flying turtle falls under the spell of evil aliens, forcing him to attack Japan, but two children free him, and he returns to fight the giant alien squid, Viras. Gamera eventually destroyed Viras by freezing him in the upper atmosphere and dropping him into the ocean below, where he exploded. In the 1969 movie Gamera vs. Guiron, Gamera, sensing danger, traveled to an alien planet named Terra after a couple of aliens kidnapped two children in order to extract knowledge from their heads. There, he meets and fights Guiron, a massive, blade-headed alien beast who guards the planet. After a long and grueling battle, Gamera, Akio, and Tom return to Earth. In the 1976 movie Gamera vs. Jiger, Gamera appears after a large statue called the Devil's Whistle was removed from Wester Island. Later, the female monster Jiger, awoken by the statue's dismantling, emerges from a volcano, prompting Gamera to confront her. Gamera's internal organs are likewise susceptible to parasite activity, as seen by his fainting and turning a deathly white while the baby Jiger grew inside his lungs. Eventually, Gamera was saved by two youngsters who destroyed the baby, and he resumed his battle with Jiger, eventually killing her. In the 1971 movie Gamera vs. Zigra, Gamera rescued two children from the extraterrestrial invader known as Zigra and his brainwashed human slave, Laura Lee. After Gamera rescued the children, Zigra took matters into his own hands, revealing himself as a monster-sized fish creature. Zigra confronted Gamera in a battle underwater, defeating him with his superior underwater combat abilities. However, Gamera was restored by a bolt of lightning and attacked Zigra again, throwing him onto land, rendering him defenseless and defeating him with his fire breath. Gamera appears 9 years later in the 1980 movie Gamera, Super Monster, which was primarily composed of stock footage from the previous movies. The friend of all children, Gamera fights and kills the revived previous monsters, and at the end of the movie, Gamera sacrifices himself to kill the evil alien named Xenon by destroying his spaceship. In the science fiction comedy movie review TV show, Mystery Science Theater 3000, the first local season includes 5 episodes that each feature a movie from the Gamera franchise's Showa period: Gamera, Gamera vs. Barugon, Gamera vs. Gyaos, Gamera vs. Guiron, and Gamera vs. Zigra. The same 5 movies were reused in the show's 3rd national season. Gamera also appears several times in the TV show The Simpsons. In the episode Lisa on Ice, in Lisa's dream, he, together with Rodan and Mothra, gives pursuit to her. In the episode 30 Minutes Over Tokyo, Gamera attacks Simpsons' plane alongside Godzilla, Barugon, and Mothra. Starting with the 1995 series reboot Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, Gamera's in-universe origins have changed. This time, Gamera is a bioengineered Earth defender created by the lost civilization of Atlantis to combat Gyaos, another of the civilization's ancient creatures capable of exterminating all human life. In the present day, human explorers mistake Gamera for an atoll after discovering him drifting in the Pacific Ocean encased in rock. Within the rock, they discover a massive monolith revealing Gamera's origins, as well as dozens of orichalcum magatama that allow Gamera and humans to communicate psychically. At the end of the movie, Gamera absorbs fire and fires a super-powered plasma fireball. In the 1996 movie Gamera 2, Attack of Legion, 1 year after the battle between Gamera and Gyaos, Japan is invaded by a race of insect-like, silicon-based alien life forms dubbed Legion that attempt to make Earth theirs. This event prompts Gamera to come to the planet's protection again. In this movie, we can see how Gamera breathes in the oxygen produced by a Legion plant and fires an oxygen-powered plasma fireball. In the 1999 movie Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris, Gamera has to face hordes of Gyaos and a new foe known as Iris. In this movie, Gamera blasted his own arm off, absorbed plasma fireballs shot by Iris, and used his arm stump to grow back his arm in plasma form. From this, it appears Gamera has the ability to manipulate fire. However, as shown in this movie, this ability to regenerate limbs in plasma form seems to be only temporary, as the plasma arm disappeared after defeating Iris. In the 2006 12th movie, Gamera the Brave, Gamera battles Gyaos and Zigra, a standalone movie. It featured the story of Toru, a young kid who discovered a strange glowing egg on a small island, which hatched into a baby turtle named Toto. Toru discovered his pet was another Gamera as Toto grew and demonstrated extraordinary powers, such as flight and the capacity to spit fire. In 1973, the original Gamera sacrificed himself to slay a flock of Gyaos in his village. Toto completely changes into the next generation of Gamera after ingesting the shining rock found with his egg, giving him the power to defeat Zigra, a lizard-like creature. In the 2015 short movie of the same name, first shown at the New York Comic Con to celebrate Gamera's 50th anniversary, Gamera is depicted as killing a swarm of Gyaos in Tokyo 10 years prior, at the cost of thousands of human lives. 10 years later, a new tentacled monster appears in Tokyo, and Gamera arrives to battle it. In the first Japanese original net animation series, Gamera Rebirth, released in 2023, Gamera further expanded combat attributes to include electromagnetic pulse, jamming, gravitation, energy shield, and baryon. Gamera appears to defend the protagonist's children from other monsters, including Gyaos, Jiger, and Zigra, who are trying to feed on the children and other civilians.